In a world filled with conflict, in a universe comprised of differences, there's one thing that absolutely everything shares in common. We all exist. Including two guys named Jack and Michael, who like to chat about that very thing over a good cup of coffee. Let's pay them a visit, shall we?
Existence Brewing.
The daily special is... I thought Captain Crunchicino was the last time we were here. Really? Oh, yeah. I guess it is the special again. Oh, hey,
Sorry,
Jack.
Hey. Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I heard Captain Crunchicino.
Yeah, they've got Captain Crunchicino back on the menu again.
Oh, you love Captain Crunchicino. My only question is, why has he never ascended? It's been, how long has Captain Crunch been out, been a thing? Like since the 60s?
Oh, probably maybe 70s?
60 years? 60,
Yeah.
70 years?
Okay.
In 60 or 70 years, they have yet to make the man an admiral. What the fuck is wrong with Captain Crunch? He keeps failing his piss test. That's what it is. I just can't seem to pass his test. I mean, that's what it is. We all know what he's pouring on his own cereal, right? Cognac in the mornings. He's Captain Crunch never seemed like he could be much of a fleet admiral to me anyway. He couldn't really direct a lot of maritime traffic.
Do you find it odd that Captain Crunch really isn't... I don't ever see him in any ad campaigns, and I don't see I don't see the Trix Rabbit in very many ad campaigns. So what is the deal with the cereal makers?
Though a lot of those classic icons that we grew up with that I just adore, like I've talked about in a past podcast, they were all created by the ills of corporate America, corporateering, and yet they're innocent victims in all of that. Someone spawned them, and I'm sure the day the Trix Rabbit came off the artist's pencil and was just like, I finally exist. Look at this. I'm here. I've got all these pages to run through and scan. What? I'm supposed to what? What the? Are you fucking? What are you? He's just. Oh God, no.
Or the Lucky Charms. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, pick your icon. It's fabulous to be here. Finally, got over from the other side. I'm supposed to hawk your fucking cereal. Really? That's just what sad existence shit. Oh God, this hell on earth. So yeah,
their existence is ruined.
They have. Yeah, that's our special Existence is Ruined special edition. They've been very cautious with those characters for some reason recently. A lot of them have gone away and they aren't being used anymore. And I think the only thing I can point at is that all of that shit has gone to pharmaceuticals and insurance, which is despicable. And don't get me on that, I'll go on forever about that and get angry. Or it's this over woke thing that's going on where they're worried that the bunny, if it sells a cereal that's multicolored, is going to be representing a certain, demographic. And we don't want, General Mills doesn't want any trouble, so they just kick the rabbit to the curb. Or, Lucky still appears. I think Lucky's still being used, so the Irish haven't complained too much yet. Or his relationship with the IRA was never confirmed. We're gonna blow up the fucking car and marshmallows are gonna fly all over, hit people in the face. It's gonna be great. We'll kill a bunch of fucking people. The
Flintstones are still being used as the Fruity Pebbles characters. I've noticed that. I'm sure
Hanna-Barbera and Post probably have a long-standing contract that they have to be used. And again, cave people, they're off the hook. I mean, if those were Nazi soldiers or settlers, if those were Puritans, like think about the Quaker Oats guy. He's got to be the least popular dude in town right now. And I know Maddie, my girlfriend is Native American. And so she has this great line talking about Land O'Lakes butter. When they took the woman, I'm not supposed to use the word, especially because it's a bad term. They took the squaw off. I'll say it.
You're the one that said it.
Well, I'm not worried about it because to me, it's what it was. I mean, that's who she was. But they took the Native American woman off the box, and because they were worried about it representing butter for a corporation that's no doubt owned by white people and has been for a long time. So that's at the heart of the thing. But Maddie always says, yeah, it's just Land O'Lakes is just the same old story. Get rid of the Indian, keep the land. So because that's all that's on the box now.
She came up with that one. That's a good one.
Well, I don't know if she came up with it, but it was original to me.
I'll give her credit for that one.
She's a sharp person. She's sharper than I ever thought of being, so I'll give her credit for it too. So yeah, I don't know why all those icons have gone by the way, but anyway, Speaking of Maddie, it's her birthday next week, and I'm having a lot of tough luck. I'm always trying to look for unique things, of course, things she doesn't see coming. And I'm also like, well, I'll just say it. I'm the greatest boyfriend ever when it comes to making notes. Whenever I hear about, oh, wow, that's so cool, or I've always wanted one of those, it goes right in here, and I don't forget about it. And yep, it's just so I'm always, coming up with things. But most of the stuff, if not, shopping here is pathetic where we live, brick and mortar shopping. So everything comes from online, and I'm having a really hard time. One thing was not delivered properly that I was expecting that came from, overseas even. They did a return to sender on it because we had a substitute carrier yesterday who rather than, I don't even want to get into it. It pissed me off. Anyway, so one of them's being sent back errantly. It would seem there's others that are running late. So I'm having a hard time. So anyway, one of the things that she said she saw recently in a little store here in town, and it's so funny. I never would have guessed this really. Was she saw one of those old TV VCR combos, those old 13-inch TV VCR combos.
Yeah.
With the VCR like built in. God, she said, oh, I had one of those when I was a kid. And, I was the last generation that remembers VHS, and I always wanted one of those. And I was just thinking, my God, really? Okay, so I get to looking around for them because I really need something. And long story short, I'm a little surprised how expensive they are. So if you have one and you don't know this already, it's a collector's item.
You're
and if
sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah, not a gold mine, but they're worth like the one I'm going to get. It's over $100. But I found it in a town that's about 90 miles away because I started combing Facebook Marketplace, and I've never used Facebook Marketplace before.
My wife's favorite website besides Amazon.
So I set up a little purchase from this nice woman, Barbara, on Facebook Marketplace. So I'm going to go down tomorrow morning, have a nice drive, and I'll pick this up, and I'll be like, okay, kind of a sigh of relief. There's a good gift. But I got to thinking, I've had this turntable, this digital turntable that I bought. You know this story, because I bought it during the pandemic and then never set it up. And then I got it out recently to use it finally. And I got to looking at it and went, I kind of think this is a piece of shit. And all the reviews that I read, it was brand new when it came out. There were no reviews on Amazon, and then it had some reviews, and they don't even make it anymore. And it was like, this thing sucks. And,
yeah, it was during the pandemic. Just blame it on the pandemic.
I bought the one that I'd originally been looking at that was more expensive because I didn't want to take any chances when I was digitizing my vinyl. So anyway, I know you helped me set that up, which I thank you for. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, cool. I can list this turntable because I've been wondering what to do with it. I didn't get rid of the first one I bought. It's still in the closet, brand new, in the box, the wrapping and everything. I don't want what I paid for it. I'll give a nice discount on it. I'd love to get maybe enough cash to trade in for the TV that I'm going to buy. That would be great, or close. So I listed it on Facebook Marketplace, and I checked this afternoon when I was setting up the TV purchase, and it had a couple of seemingly bites, and then one of them wasn't a bite at all. It was a bite, B-Y-T-E, because it looked like somebody stopped by to sell something of their own. And I'm like, well, that's a hell of a deal. So, and then the other message that I got about it, this is what it said. It says, hey man, open to trades? maybe some medical herbs if over 21, or comic books, neon beer signs, sports cards. Just like,
he's just a gypsy of all trades, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm gonna say no to all of those, actually, sir. Like, are you serious? Like, right out of the gate, hey, can I trade you some bud for your old record player? I'm like,
Only if
no.
you're over 21, though, man. And,
No.
and if you're not a cop. Because, you know, if I ask you if you're a cop, and you have to say if you're a cop. So are you a cop?
You know what? I ought to respond and really act like the worst UC in the history of time online. Like, yes, I'd love to be interested. Can you tell me about how much you have and what grade it is and where it came from? Just interested. Phil, or something, you know, a real cop's name, Dagan, you know, I mean, one of these newfangled cop names they have.
Oh.
Any donuts possible with that trade? Just asking, you know. Oh shit, dude, this guy's a narc. You know.
Oh no.
Oh, it just kills me. It's because I'm just like thinking, oh, cool. There's a person interested, and you're expecting, you know, something more on the mundane side, like, hi, really interested in their turntable. Do you still have it? This is like, that's usually a starter convo when you're, you know, but no, instead I get just right off the bat, maybe some herbs. And I'm just like, oh, fuck.
Maybe this guy's an undercover cop.
Yeah, that could be. It could be the other way around. Or maybe I could play just kind of, we'll go from the sublime to the ridiculous with this guy when we get back with him. And just pretend like I'm the Italian immigrant or something and go, yeah, you know, what kind of herbs do you have? I'm looking for oregano, the basil, always the marjoram. Hard to find the marjoram. Always hard with marjoram this time of year. Did you have this? I'm interested.
I don't know if that's Italian.
Dude, I got it all. No, it wasn't. It kind of developed like an Italian Jewish thing happened there. I don't know. I didn't feel like doing the Italian thing that I typically do, because usually my textbook Italian is like Mario, you know. But anyway.
Oh, that's good. You know, it's almost like graduation season. And I know we kind of did a nod to the graduates of 2025 in a previous episode.
Oh, yes.
You gave a nice little commencement speech. I forget which episode that was, but it's somewhere in the ether. And if I am ever invited to do a real commencement address, by the way, I will pass. I will literally. I'm making that pledge right now. Because I can only see like our very own Evergreen State College, which is probably where this guy who's asking about the turntable went. Yeah, I spent a couple of years in Hort over at Evergreen. I mean, they'd be the only ones that would ask me. You know, it's like, Jack, we'd love to have you do the commencement here with our students at Evergreen. Half of them are going to be baked at the time. Won't remember a fucking word, but we'd love that. I mean, then I don't do commencements. I don't. It's not in your contract. No, I was thinking of the just high school, and I was meaning to ask you, did you ever do any pranks when you were in grade school? Was there ever any tomfoolery involved in your background?
No, I've never been a big prank fan. To me, that's a little loathsome for my personal taste. I mean, I don't think people generally appreciate getting punked, and so I don't want to be the punker.
Well, I tell you,
no,
teachers.
I don't remember.
Teachers have a good memory, and the reason I wanted to bring it up is because my past is one that included a prank, and at the time, it didn't seem like a significant prank at all. I was probably in junior high. And we had a classroom that was kind of removed from the regular building. They called it a portable. Yeah. And so it was just kind of like a mobile home, essentially, with a classroom in it, right?
Yeah, we didn't have those. We didn't have those when we were growing up, Michael, but I know what they are.
Yeah, no, they actually passed levies when you were growing up. But no, what we ended up doing is...
Bonds.
Yeah, bonds.
Bonds are for building. Levies are for shit stuff.
Okay, fine. Yeah. They passed bonds when you were growing up.
I don't want to get the glut of emails from the teachers that are listening.
Right.
It's bonds that are for buildings. Like,
so we had this portable classroom that was real makeshift, and essentially it was just so that the school district could add another classroom without having to really fork up the dough for it. And they had this giant clock on the wall. And we were getting ready for our class time to be over, and the teacher was distracted. And so I just went up to the clock and I turned it up a few minutes, like 20 minutes.
Oh.
And so by the end of the class, what she perceived was the end of class, she's like, oh no, we're running behind. And I felt so sorry for her because she was probably like a second year substitute teacher.
Oh, wow.
She really was like
messed with the sub.
Oh yeah, and she really like, you know, had all of her T's crossed and I's dotted, and so she was
wanted
just,
tenureship. Man.
Well,
She
was looking for it, and so she was, you know, just frazzled, and she was like, "Oh man, we're so behind." So we went through, and she was all frantic, and I just didn't say anything, and then we got to the end of what she perceived the end of class was, and we're all just standing outside waiting for the bell to ring, because that's what she had to do, is she had to wait outside with us until the bell rang. Bell never rang.
Yeah, 20 minutes later it rang, right?
She remembered that. She remembered that.
Wow. And how'd it come up?
My daughter
married her.
My daughter had her as a substitute teacher in middle school.
She recognized the last name.
Yep. And she has a good memory. And she told, of course, my daughter the whole story. And I went to pick up my daughter, and the substitute teacher's daughter happens to work at my daughter's school as well. And of course, when I went to go pick up my daughter, she had to bring up the story. So it is a multi-generational story that has stuck. I say that to just say, kids, if you're going to prank your substitute teachers, remember, it can come back to haunt you. So don't do anything too crazy.
Come back to haunt your daughter, too. I can just hear that roll call, too. Barker, here. Calhoun, here. Decker, here. Earnhardt?
Yeah.
Earnhardt? Here.
Right.
Elliott? Elliott? Here, ma'am. Are you Michael Elliott's daughter by
Exactly.
chance? Yes, ma'am. That son of a bitch turned the clock forward 20 minutes when I was a substitute in my second year and almost cost me tenureship, the bastard. You tell that son of a bitch dad of yours that I'm coming for him.
Well, and you know, in the classroom, they were probably like, isn't your dad 40? And then they were like, holy cow, how old are you, lady?
Yeah, although I will say this though about kids, and the last thing I wanted, because your daughters, you got two. How old is 13 and 11 or 12? 13 and 11. Okay. So I don't want to scare you because, you know, they're getting there. You know what I mean? They're advancing. But kids in high school, they don't really see age the same way now that they used to, says the guy whose girlfriend is half his age, right? So yeah, it's an eye-opener. It's different. Older people are actually cool now. I mean, remember, young people are actually going through the process of prematurely silvering their hair so they can look cool.
No
and of
way.
Course, yes, they are. They absolutely are. And of course, nothing looks stupider than silver hair on a guy that is 30 years too young to possess even a few strands, let alone an entire head. I mean, they look ridiculous. So it's just like, excuse me, I couldn't help but notice your hair is completely like Doc Brown, and yet you're 19, aren't you? Yeah, but it's super cool, man. It's just so it's weird. And talk about timing for yours truly. It's just like, God, I hit that one perfectly. You know, just as I start to get steely, you know, more and more every day all across my fabulous coif, it's just like, oh man, that's cool. It's like, yeah, you're damn right it is. I aged into this well, didn't I? So it's kind of, I mean, free for all sounds like it's bad, but it's just like it's sort of a strange world. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, when I was growing up, that was how I felt when I was your daughter's age too. It's just like, how did people turn 40 and still be alive? You know, so maybe it'll go back to that. Just just in time for me to die.
Yeah, right.
It's just in time for me to slip out of here when it's not cool anymore. Or maybe something unprecedented will happen. Maybe like I'll live to be, God forbid, I live to be anything above north of like 70, but maybe I'll become an octogenarian or a nonagenarian, I'll be 80 or 90, and it'll be just like super cool. Like it'll be the hottest thing on earth to be 90. And I'll just be like, yeah, fucking hey, I'm 90. Yeah, that's right. Old tater still works once in a while too, I'll tell you. I'm just like, yeah, you never know. You never know. I would actually love to see that, not because I would benefit from it, like socially, but because it's the right thing for us to do. Respecting our elders isn't enough. We should look up to our elders. The smartest civilizations on earth that ever existed, and that's saying a lot because all of them have fallen, collapsed upon themselves, or been conquered by ones that eventually collapsed upon themselves. The ones that thrived, at least for a while, they listened to the elder statesmen of their community because they recognized, hey, these fuckers have been around. Yes, living is it's a young person's game in so many ways, but I was just thinking of this the other day. I think I invented a good line. Living is a young person's game, but having lived is an old person's game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Being alive is an old person's game because you've been alive for a lot longer than those that are living that are younger. We got old souls here too. Like, my girlfriend's one of them. She's much older on the inside than the outside. So I know there's all different types, and I'm sure we have some 90-year-olds that are still trying to kick it on spring break with the rest of the kids in Panama City. So,
well, and I think we've talked about this before.
I've seen them when I lived down there. Actually, I saw them
on the Redneck Riviera, right?
Come on, give Grandpa some love. Come on, honey, bring those swingers over here. Come on. See that red rope licorice over there? I'll give you $1. You feed it to me. Just go ahead and feed it to me. It's a $1 bill, honey.
No.
It's a lot of money for a girl like you, your age.
Why is it that when old people ever like do an exchange, my mom does this on occasion. It'll be like, yeah, when I was a kid, that was a lot of money. You really could use this, couldn't you?
Because it was. Have you ever used the how much money was that in like 1975 money or 1955 money or
like an inflation calculator?
Yeah, like Google. You can just plug it in, just do a little query, and say how much money was $24,000 in 1959 money, and it'll tell you. And it's a lot of money. It's like holy shit, that was a lot of money back then. It could have bought. I mean, put it this way. They're phasing out an entire denomination of currency that once purchased an entire, like a whole piece of candy. Penny candy, when I was growing up, see, this shows you how young I am even. When I was growing up, they had penny candy at a little store, a little tiny cube. It was the littlest tiny thing you've ever seen. And it was down on one of the main thoroughfares in town where I lived, where I grew up. And it was called the Little Black Store because it was a concrete building. And they painted it black on the outside. And God, it got so hot in the summer because it's like, you don't paint a building black. I mean, the guy must have been like in love with the Rolling Stones because he painted his store black and it was sweltering on the inside. And they had this shitty air conditioner that never worked. But they had penny candy there. Penny candy growing up when I was a kid in the late 70s and early 80s, going into the Little Black Store that was in my neighborhood. Again, this store that was painted black was 3 cents. It was 3 cents. It was triple what it actually originally was. But penny candy, of course, was named such because it used to be a penny.
Right.
And I liked the little chocolate footballs. And you could get sixlets, and there were only like 4.
Yeah.
They were the little tiny tubes, and then the little tiny Chico sticks. But it was all 3 cents, as I recall. So even when I was growing up, penny candy was not a penny. It was triple that.
Yeah. And when I was growing up in the 80s, it was a nickel. So you could go down. Yeah, you could go down to the candy store with $1, and you could get a good haul for $1.
I don't see it anymore. It's just those single serve candy. But the last place I did see it, strangely enough, was at the arcade in Seaside, Oregon.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, and what you do is it's one of the things like they want you to play. They want you to stand there and spend like $800. And if you do, you can get like the stuffed bunny, the big stuffed Because you literally spent $800 playing a bunch of shit just to get the tokens, the tickets to get it.
Oh yeah, they create their own economy in there. It is arcade-onomics.
It is absolutely a microeconomy in there to end all microeconomies. You're right. But they don't even give you the tickets anymore, because it used to be fun to carry those around in your pockets.
And it would print it out. And
it's all on a swipe system now. It's all on a card.
Like a casino.
Yeah. So like when Maddie and I go, we have so much fun there. But when we go, we don't play for long enough to get like a lot of tickets. We get our fair share, but we're not staying in there. We're not going to spend $500 in there so we can get a bunch of shit. You know, we got other things to do. And also we're not going to spend that much money in there. So we're always at a little bit of a loss for the things that, okay, how much can 90 points get me there? So, okay, these candies over here are 35, and it's the same shit. It's the little chocolate footballs and little coins and like all that stuff.
And the lemon heads.
Alive, and that's where you get it. Yeah, lemon heads, airheads, Laffy Taffy. Of course, you get like a square that's 1 by 1, but, you know, it's Laffy Taffy.
Right.
So,
and it's worth like 15 credits.
Yeah, exactly. It costs you like 20 or 35. I think the cheapest things are 20 or 30 credits, points.
Yeah.
And they're the tiniest candies that they have. But anyway, it's always fun. So, and we always find something, you know, it's like to get out of there. And it's just fun to do. But anyway,
last time you were in Seaside, did they have the skee ball machines?
We love skeet. Oh, we love skeet.
So I got a funny story about that. My grandpa, oh man, he retired in Seaside. So my grandma and grandpa lived in Seaside for probably 8 years-ish.
Oh, wow.
So after he retired, he lived in a condo near the ocean. My grandma loved the beach. And my grandpa would go down to the arcade there in Seaside, and he would play skee ball just to pass the time. And so when we would come visit,
he was a ski master.
He went into his closet,
Ski Jedi,
and he pulled out the biggest wad of tickets I had ever seen. And I went, Grandpa, you've got like $1 million here.
Grandpa, what are you, stupid? Turn those in.
And he was like, all right, kids, let's go.
Oh man, that's great. What an awesome grandpa.
Yeah, it was a great memory.
He did have his own ski balls that were painted with the galaxy swirls and take them in out of the velvet case. And like, how you doing? Bonnie, how are you? Yeah, I'll be here for an hour and a half today. I got a doctor's appointment after this, but okay. Boom, and rolled.
He gets the brace on his right hand just so he can.
The fucking brace. Yeah, the brace, exactly. I know Seaside will never be the same again, nor will any coastal community in Washington or Oregon, because every time I'm there, all I can think of is the Cascadia subduction zone and how it's due to absolutely have a complete fracture. And
you know,
I'll tell you what, enjoy Seaside whilst you can, because it's unthinkable. But when it does go, it's gone, and it's going to be gone maybe for good. I mean, I'm sure they'll rebuild because people are just stupid. Like, you know, like George Carlin's old joke about living in a flood area. After the first time, don't you get it? Well, we still have Holland. The Dutch are still a people. So no, they don't get it. Although the dike system they have is so unbelievably intricate and so expensive that it literally keeps the Netherlands, as they're called now, because they literally are in the nethers of the earth, or at least shallow enough nethers that they flood all the time. It keeps them absent of water so they can grow shit all year round.
They created a highway on a dike.
Yeah, that dike system they have there is absolutely unbelievable. But of course, in the good old U.S. of A., we don't worry about things going boom, because they never will, because Uncle Sam won't let them. Well, sadly, we know now that's not true. So Cascadia could go tonight. It could go tomorrow. It could go 100 years from now. Shit, it could be a couple hundred years, because the fault typically fractures about every 300 to 500 years. So we could be at the top end of that. But the longer, theoretically, in plate tectonics and tectonic science, theoretically, the longer we go, the greater the chances of a full fracture are, and therefore the greater chances are of a complete oh shit moment.
It's funny.
As one geologist actually said, everything west of I-5 will be toast. And that was an actual scientist who was quoted as saying that. So they know that it's going to be a shit show.
They refer to it as the big one.
Well, yeah, and a lot of coastal communities will literally be wiped off the map, not by the quake, which will do enough damage, but the tsunami. The tsunami will absolutely wipe out. Seaside will be gone, and it will be really sad. And I'm selfish enough to say I really hope that I'm gone when that does happen.
It's funny that you bring that up. It's funny that you bring that up because that's exactly why they moved away from Seaside.
I was actually going to ask that. Did they move because of Cascadia?
They moved because they started installing air raid sirens.
Okay.
And my grandpa being a veteran of World War II, and he was like, all right, we're gone. This is it.
Oh, yeah. I believe I told the story about when I was horseback riding. The only time in my life I've ever been horseback riding was on the beach in Long Beach, Washington. And I'm out there on this old horse because they gave me the old horse because they knew I was a first timer. And they're like, we'll give you Dugan. My horse's name was Dugan, and he was an old horse. And they said, Dugan's great because he's really patient with all the newbies, and he's a big horse, and you're kind of a big guy. You know, I'm 6'2" and weigh, 200-something pounds. So we'll give you Dugan. Dugan will treat you right. So I'm riding Dugan down on the beach, and the trail to get down there was kind of sinuous, and it snaked all the way down, like to the beach from the road where the corrals were at this little business that's there in town. And it was, I want to say it was at least a mile, had to have been, maybe more. And of course our group is varied, and we have the show off because you can never not have the pedantic show off in the group. So we've got the guy who's, hey, first timer. Well, I was stay close to me, partner. I was 14th Cavalryman. And I was like, move on with your, I'm a trick shot rider and all these things. Like, all right, Gene Autry, move on. I've heard enough from you. So anyway, we get down to the beach, and there's this collective in here, and I'm trotting along on Dugan, and we're getting used to each other. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm riding a horse. This is checking a little bucket list item, I guess. And then all of a sudden, the tsunami warning sirens in the small town of Long Beach go off. And I immediately have a panic attack because I'm just going, you got to fucking be kidding me. I mean, I didn't feel anything, but remember, a quake can happen halfway out in the ocean where you wouldn't, and it can still produce plenty to just Dugan and you are bye-bye. Like, you're going to drown today.
I was going to say, your last minutes on Earth are spent on Dugan.
And that's what I'm thinking is, Dugan, I love you, but I don't want to die on the fucking back of a horse for the first time in my life. I'd like to, I had something different in mind. Okay. I had something, maybe Dugan and I have a lot of locked karma, but so the sirens go off, and I appear to be the only person that not only am alarmed by this because I'm supposed to be, because it's an alert system.
It's an air raid siren.
Alert system that's going off. But I also appear to be the only one that knows what it is. And so I go to the rough hand, or what do they call them? The ranch hand, what are the people, the rustler?
Right.
I don't know what the person who guides a group. There were two of them. There was a man and a woman. And I asked the woman, I said, that's the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network warning system that just went off. Should we be concerned? And she was an older gal, and she turned around and she said, oh, no. She said, they're just probably several boys who are late for a meeting at the fire station is all. And I was just like, let me get this straight. Your little town is using a massive network that's designed to alert people in the face of probably one of the greatest catastrophes that we could imagine on the West Coast. Yeah, that's what they use it for. Oh my God. Does the federal government know about this practice, madam? Not that I am a fan, but serious, honestly.
Yeah, probably.
Like you have just caused me a small morsel of PTSD that I will never be able to recover from. That is sitting there now. And I don't mean to be like the perpetual guy that's constantly wanting to sue somebody for their trauma, but what the fuck? Like you just set off the tsunami sirens in town. I'm on a horse. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's an old horse. So it's not like, Mr. Lone Ranger over here is going to be like, oh, away. He's safe. He got the fastest. So he's got Black Beauty and he knows how to ride him. I'm screwed. I'm terrified.
So about this time, Sam Elliott shows up.
Oh, God, no.
Well, let me tell you something, partner. You don't look like you're from around these parts.
So
you just hang on to old Dugan there, and he'll take care of you.
So, Michael, we have a Sam Elliott impression in my house, actually. And we always, whenever Sam Elliott comes up, one of Sam Elliott's first movies he ever did was in like 1974. And it's this ridiculous horror film, I guess. It's called Frogs. And so every time Sam Elliott comes up, Maddie and I, because we watched it, because I had not seen it. I'd known about it for years, but I'd actually never watched it. So one of those nights where we're completely bored, and it's just like, let's watch Frogs. Sam Elliott's in it. Come on. It's like he had no mustache either. Imagine that, like a mustacheless Sam Elliott. Oh God, it's a terrible movie.
Blasphemy.
It's as bad as you could think it is, but Sam's in it. And so when he comes up, I literally every time all I say is, reminds me of this movie I did called Frogs. It's just that's all I say. That's like my whole Sam Elliott shtick now is just she'll say something like,
you don't think he's gonna
just something random like, oh, this is really good rotisserie chicken, and I'll say, reminds me of Frogs supposed to taste like chicken, reminds me of a movie I did called Frogs. So it's just that's the gag every time.
Remember that movie Mask? Remember that movie he and Cher?
I own that on DVD actually. Mask.
You own Mask on DVD?
Yeah, that's a great movie. You don't like that movie?
Oh, I just remember seeing it on TV when I was growing up, and I always thought that the person that was in the movie Mask was a real person. But I thought
Ben was his best. Ben was his best friend, and Rocky.
Rocky, yes. So I thought Rocky was
Rocky
a
Dennis. There, I even got the last name for you.
I thought Rocky was a real person.
Well, I believe it was supposed to be one of those that was loosely based on a real guy or something like that. I mean, Cher at her finest, because to me, that's how I see Cher. Just a drunken mess, just a nightmare. I thought that was a perfect, part for her to play. And for that matter, Sam Elliott right there too, riding into town on his Harley. I think I can do this for a few weeks and then gone, just like, I'm fucking out of here. This is too much for me, Reminds me of this movie I did called Frogs.
That is a great character that he plays in that movie.
Gar is the character he plays.
Yeah.
And Estelle Getty is Cher's mom. And everybody knew Estelle Getty from the Golden Girls, and she played she played grandma. She played, Dorothy's mom, B. Arthur's mom in that. And she portrayed the eldest statesman of the Golden Girls. She was actually the youngest of them in real life by far and away. They just put her in makeup that made her look older. So,
okay.
Because she had that great voice that sounded really old.
So hold the phones. They have a Mask director's cut.
Yeah.
Is that the version you have?
I don't think so. I think mine's just a regular version.
You got to be really into that movie in order to own the director's cut.
Yeah, but they've made director's cuts of everything. It's kind of like The Big Chill, the director's cuts. Like, could they make it any more boring? Like, honestly?
Well, and what? Now I've got to look into this. Like, okay, so the regular movie sells for $5 on Amazon, and you can get the director's cut for $24 on Walmart.com.
Yeah, no. Well, first of all, I'd pass for the price and the fact where it came from. I do not shop at Walmart ever, 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 ever. It's
but
like McDonald's.
I'm asking, what special features could possibly be on the director's cut of Mask to qualify for a $24 purchase?
Maybe you could probably get it. I got my copy used, so maybe my copy is the director's cut.
Well, maybe Sam Elliott does the commentary.
Well, the whole time, all he's going to do is sit there and just say, this is a good scene right here. I was pretty wasted, actually, but I remember it. Reminds me of this movie I did called Frogs. Like, every single time. Like, I can't shake that. It's our thing that we do when Sam Elliott comes up. So.
You just hang on to old Dugan there, and he'll take care of you.
Don't worry about it, Chris. Big wave comes ashore. You're fucking toast, so... It's a good way to go out, like a man. Like my career could have done after this movie I did called Frogs.
On the Mask director's cut.
Look at Sam's picture on the front of this too. Like, he's just kind of right. He's got heads. It's a head-to-head shot with Cher, and he's just sort of going, "You think there's any way you could get me out of this?"
Put me out of my misery.
She's driving me crazy, man. I actually don't have anything against Cher. She's fine.
You know, the other day I was reading, and I really started getting into the Tao Te Ching. I think we talked about this a while ago.
You brought this up, yeah.
By Lao Tzu, and this was a manuscript that was written. It's unknown really what year it was written in, but it's been dated as early as like 400 BC. And really, it is the central concept in Taoism, and often translated to the way or the path. And really just kind of a snapshot of it is it represents the natural order of the universe, the fundamental order and the structure of the universe, the way things that naturally happen. And it's not really a religion or something as like a force or God, but it's rather an underlying principle that governs all existence. And there are people who follow it and study it extensively. In fact, Tao and this Tao Te Ching is something that you could read in two hours. I mean, less than 2 hours. You could read the whole thing.
It's one of the most brief religious texts, you could say, or theological manuscripts that exist. Most of them are, of course, that take you a while to get through. But yeah, this one is quite short.
But you could study it over a lifetime. And some people have really dedicated a lot of time to it. And so one of the things that I ran across this concept on, and when I was reading the other day, and I would highly recommend, anybody who's interested in Eastern philosophy, definitely check out the Tao Te Ching. And there are a lot of commentaries that people who are experts in Tao will have kind of the original script. Obviously, it was all written originally in Chinese, and it's been translated, and there are different translations. It seems like every author has a different translation, but then, similar to like different translations of the Bible, or very similar to that, but they will have like commentaries that will then kind of go through line by line and talk about them. And so the excerpt that I wanted to share today has something to do with existence and the view of existence and the view of other people's existence. And so this is from chapter 21 of the Tao Te Ching, and it says, "The appearance of great virtue follows only the Tao. The Tao as a thing seems indistinct, seems unclear, so indistinct. Within it, there is image. Within it, there is a substance so deep, so profound. Within it, there is essence." And the annotation then by Derek Lin, who is kind of really somebody who then I read his annotation version of this. So you have the original text. Does this make sense? You have the original text, and then you have a lot of these different commentaries. And so the one that I've been reading is from Derek Lin. And you can check out, he has a YouTube channel talking about Tao, and he's written a few different books. He says, indistinct and unclear are used several times in this chapter 21. They refer to the mysteries of the Tao, and we find that the great unknown is at the heart of existence. No matter how we probe it, understanding eludes us. And every time we solve one puzzle, another one presents itself. And this comes up time and time again in the Tao Te Ching, because there's this kind of sense that Tao is the universe, and the universe is Tao. And so there is a lot of this kind of indistinct, unclear, is what he's referring to. And he says one of the mysteries of the Tao is the essence of life. How exactly does life arise from inorganic, lifeless material? This is something that we still do not understand. How exactly did we, life forms, not so different from others on this planet, become self-aware? This is another mystery that seems forever to remain just one step beyond our comprehension. Perhaps the answer to one of the mysteries above is that we are not life forms that have become self-aware. Perhaps it is that the other way around. We are entities of pure consciousness that have learned how to manifest into the physical universe through the workings of life. If this is true of us, then it is also true of the people around us. And let's put this idea to the test, Derek says. When you interact with others, see them not as physical bodies, but as spiritual energy. And how does this change the way we feel about them? And it was something that really kind of took me by surprise when I read it, because it wasn't really something that I had ever really thought about, in this idea of we are pure consciousness beings that have manifested ourselves into a physical world. I always thought of it the other way around, which I think a lot of Westerners do, which is that we are physical beings that have now evolved to self-awareness. Because there are other animals on this planet, from what we can tell, don't have that same self-awareness. But we as humans have developed this self-awareness.
A lot of moving parts there. A lot of things that could be said about that. But they do match up with things that I have thought about on my own or contemplated on my own. And this is one avenue, because I have something from a ways back about seeing people. We'll just pick one of these elements that you talked about, seeing people as energy and not for the physical form that they are. And I was trying to, this was back, there's actually about 50 episodes of a practice podcast, I guess, if you will, or what could we call it? What do they always call it? A beta version, or what do they call pilot?
A pilot, yeah.
Version, or, yeah, sort of. But I did about 50 of these on my own, and maybe I'll release them someday. They're quite lengthy, and it's really just me going on a diatribe. And sometimes I never put them out because I felt like after listening to them, those were really more for me. I think they were more of a cathartic exercise. There were some that I did in my car as well when I was going through a real transitional period in life, and I have got some of those. But that idea about seeing people for energy is not new to me, because I didn't read about it. It was one of the things that in climbing that tree of the Akashic, I found that plum, and I plucked it and took a bite and was like, oh, this is an interesting idea. And I thought, well, I need to think about this some more. I need to ponder this some more, because handing that fruit to somebody and saying, here, take a bite, that in this day and age, that's a really heavy lift. That's a big ask, because I think in the Tao's time, it would be a much easier task. First of all, the world isn't as interconnected as it is now. So the ancient Chinese, many of them probably have never seen someone of another race before. And this is also not, please don't take this as a racist remark, but I think it's undeniable that of many of the different cultures that are on Earth, many of the different races that are on planet Earth, the Asiatic races can be seemingly, at least to outsiders, very indistinguishable from each other. They look similar, whereas there are a lot of very different characteristics of more Western Mongoloid or more European or Caucasian people. So I think all those factors play into how this could be suggested by the ancient Chinese, and they could pull it off a lot easier than we could today. Because today we deal with so many prejudice, so many prejudice. Is that the plural of prejudice? I don't know. But there are many prejudices that are involved. We size people up instantly on everything from how old they are to how tall they are or short they are, how heavy they are, what their eye color is, what their skin color is, what their clothing looks like, if they're wearing shoes, how expensive those items are, what they may be driving, if that's in the background, what kind of phone they have. I mean, there's hundreds of ways that we diagnose a person instantly, and we put them into categorically a pocket that we judge them by. We say, well, they're this kind of person. And whether we like it or not, we have a lean with that. We have now, like Jack, he doesn't prefer plutocrats. So am I likely to judge somebody more harshly if they're wearing expensive clothing, or if they, probably. I would love to think that I could be completely neutral on that front, but I'm probably going to judge them like that. So to me, the bigger question is not that you could perceive someone simply as the energy that they are, but how is that done in a modern environment, especially in an Occidental environment where we're so committed to all of these differences and putting up the barriers that go with them. And I know we live in a big time of, equality, or getting back to, equality this, equality that. And yet I don't really feel like there's a lot that's being practiced. And I also feel, I had thought of this because I was contemplating equality, and I thought, well, equalizing these physical characteristics and attributes, races, this races that we come from, and the color we are and all that, it's not going to get us anywhere because it doesn't go deep enough. So we need to see each other for the true similarities that we all are. And you've heard people say before, well, we may be this color or that religion or have this much money or be this kind of a pauper, but one thing's for sure, we're all human. Well, that's true, but I think we go deeper than that and say we're all energy. And not only and the reason why that's the best modus operandi for this exercise is because not only are we as humans, as this animated flesh and blood, these life forms, as you said, the sentient beings, not only are we energy, but everything is energy. Absolutely, positively, everything is energy. So not only do we share that energetic faction with each other, we share it with the entire construct. And so that is universal equality. Now we're off of this deal that's so anthropocentric and this human thing. Now we've just, by saying I'm energy and I'm looking at you, Michael, right now as energy and nothing more, now everything has just unified. It already was. So this is a perceptive exercise, at the most. It's not going to change anything because that's a constant in the universe. Universe knows that, but it's waiting for you to get that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm picking up from Tao is that it really allows you to focus and turn your eyes from looking out and really turning your eyes around and looking within. And that is something that is so amazing about this, is that over 2,000 years ago, 2,400 years ago, somebody was thinking about these exact same things. They are ingrained in our DNA. Not that we're looking for a definitive answer, but like we just said, you could read the Tao in an afternoon, but you could study it over a lifetime. And this whole idea that these thoughts are so complex that it really isn't something that can just be so quick to have an answer or a perspective.
Well, and I think that's really the underlying reason. We talk so often how there really is no reason for Existence Brewing except to just share thoughts and ideas. And that is true. But I do think if there was one thing that Existence Brewing was trying to do, to accomplish, just by being whatever it is to people that partake in it, that listen to it or check it out or whatever, is just that, is to crankstart, to kickstart a contemplation of something more than you're already thinking about. And it really doesn't matter what the answers are that you arrive at. Just the fact that you're contemplating it is enough in the environment that we're all sharing. Because the contemplation of the miracle, and certainly, and I'm going to call it a miracle because it absolutely fucking is, as far as I'm concerned, but the miracle of being here has been, it's never going to be snuffed out because it is what it is, but it's been significantly tarnished by the world, by what humanity has built and what we've allowed ourselves to fall victim to. And, you know, we're all guilty of that. I love to point fingers at, you know, the larger, you know, the bigger villains in this enterprise, you know, the people that have all the money and the power, and they continue to tell us that we have to be this and need to be that and need to own this, and, you know, that we're worthless unless we have all these material things, or unless we're an athlete, or unless we're beautiful, or, you know, all these things that are completely subjective and mean absolutely nothing in the scope of true existence, of true being here, of truly being here, wherever here may be, wherever you may consider that to be, but sharing this experience with each other. That's the miracle that we're given, and we're pissing on it every day to one degree or another. So I would like to think that these are the kinds of things that, even though we don't want to change minds or start a cult or do anything like that, I would think that would be the one thing that I would hope that would happen as a result of my time and energy put into this little project, this little podcast, is to just have people come out the other end contemplating things in a way that they haven't before. And as far as finding answers is concerned, just really quickly, I think the bigger stuff, I don't think there are answers. I really don't think so. I think that's a misnomer that began with religion. And because the answers were so distant, because science had not come along to give us a push in that direction just yet, we handed it all over to God and said, well, he knows best, and it's all supposed to be a mystery. And I think we were right about that. It is all supposed to be a mystery to a certain degree. But when science entered the picture, suddenly, well, no, everything has a tangible answer. Everything has an empirical answer that can eventually, at some point, be observed and proven. And I don't think that's true. In fact, I know for my own satisfaction that it's not true. So is so much of it provable? Sure. But then I ask you this. Okay, so we've proven it. What does that mean to us? I mean, they keep telling us they've proven us that they found the origins of everything, that they found the place where the Big Bang happened, and, you know, we now know, what did I read the other day? Something like that. We now know, you know, where all of the energy from the Big Bang came from, or some grand statement like that. It's like, yeah, we haven't even mapped the entire depths of the ocean. We can't even, we can't even fly to the next planet over with ease, to say the least. And yet, oh, no, we know this. Okay, I'm going to say bullshit, but even if that's true, so what? Okay, so we've proven it. Now what? I mean, I always used to say that when my friends would get into arguments and they'd want to do the God thing. It's just like, you know, they get into the argument about Jesus, or they get into the argument about God with somebody, and I'd watch them battle back and forth, and I'd just say, you know, here's the thing. Even if what you're saying is either true or not true, okay, now what? That was always my two-word question when people get into big arguments about proving these things that are so enormous conceptually. All right, let's say it's proven beyond a reasonable shadow of a doubt. Now what? Life still goes on. The day goes on. And even though we may know something, and we know it empirically, it doesn't necessarily change anything, not unless it changes the way that we actually start treating each other and the way that we view the experience of being as the miracle that it, I think, is supposed to be viewed as. But that's a personal opinion, I suppose. Here, I'll read this to you. It's perfect. It came up. So you shared something. I'll share this because I was just reading this. It's next up on my list. Not surprisingly, perfect timing for download time, I suppose.
Download.
Download. Yeah, exactly. Yours was a download. Mine's a download. So here it is. It's not too long. What we need is not a nation, not an ideology, not a following, and not a faith even, but a secure knowledge, a knowledge that we are wanted and needed here by all others and all things. Others and things who don't wish to govern our actions and thoughts, nor convert us to their system of beliefs, nor want to use us for their selfish desires, but rather simply a family of energy, there's that word again, that understands we are all here for the very same and for very different reasons, and respects this fact.
Content on today's Daily Download was from author Derek Lin. You can find more of his work at dereklin.com or Taoism.net. That's Tao with a T. TAOISM.net.
I think that somewhere along it's all things return to you. I must have finally opened up to your love. Though I was building a wall at heaven's gate, everything comes to you. You must have found a secret path into my soul, and now you're part of my life. I can't believe that this is mine.
Did anybody ever say to you, Jack, that you have a way with music?
Yeah, that's been suggested.
You just have a way of choosing just the right song at just the right moment
That's why I'm a disc jockey for a living.
on just the right jukebox.
Nickelodeon.
What are we listening to?
This is Rick Springfield, believe it or not. And as I was telling you at one point earlier, when you were talking to me about this Tao business, he wrote an album called Tao. And this is essentially the title track, which is about his experience discovering the Tao for himself. So it's interesting that this would come up today and then blend with my own personal music collection to dive in and pick it out from.
The Power of Love, The Tao of Love by Rick Springfield.
I think he's on the line right now, actually, one of my favorites. It's my favorite from the song. The person that seeks to pluck the stars will miss the jewels at his feet. And that's a very good way of articulating poetically that the stars are wonderful to pursue, but don't forget about the miracle that's right in front of you.
Until we meet again at Existence Brewing.
Or in the movie Frogs.
Well, it looks like Jack and Michael have finished up their latest chat about all things existence. But if anything they said got your own Existence Brewing, be sure and catch their other talks at existencebrewing.com and drop them an email to share your thoughts using contact@existencebrewing.com.
Existence Brewing.